All right, today we're going to dive into a really fascinating and pretty complex worldview that comes from a Telegram channel called SLV Whirl. We're going to break down its theory of a hidden system of societal control, something the author calls the game. Now, just to be clear, we're presenting these ideas straight from the source material, just to understand how this whole theory is put together. So let's get into it.
So, think about it. When was the last time you were just scrolling through TikTok or Reels? You know that feeling. You're just caught in that endless stream of short, snappy content. Well, according to the theory we're exploring today, that experience is anything but an accident. It's actually designed for a purpose that goes way beyond just keeping you entertained. It's the front door to a much, much larger system. Okay, so let's peel back that first layer of this theory. The source argues that the algorithms that power our feeds, they're not just there for fun. They're described as these incredibly powerful tools, engineered with precision to distract us and manage our collective attention on a truly massive scale. This slide really breaks down the 4 alleged goals of these algorithms. And trust me, it's about a lot more than just selling you stuff. First up, it's about maintaining control. Because, let's be honest, when we're passively scrolling, we're not actively out there creating or questioning things. And that leads right to the second goal, dulling our attention. That constant fire hose of short-form content can kind of wear down our ability to think deeply. And while all this is happening, our data is being harvested. Every click, every like becomes fuel. And maybe the craziest part, it all creates this illusion of choice, making us feel like we're in the driver's seat while we're actually being guided down these very specific paths.
So if the goal is control, what's the currency, right? Well, according to this theory, the whole system is built to harvest 6 specific human resources. These are supposedly the fuel that powers the entire game. Let's break them down one by one.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts with attention. The source calls it the most valuable currency of our time, and it makes sense when you think about it. Wherever your attention goes, your money and your beliefs tend to follow. So the theory is, by first capturing and then directing our focus, these platforms can start to steer the behavior of millions. But, just getting your attention isn't quite enough. The next resource is emotional energy. That content that makes you feel something really strong, whether it's fear, joy, or anger, that's not an accident either, according to the source. That emotional reaction is seen as this powerful, harvestable resource that can be used to sway everything from what you buy to who you vote for. And of course, all this activity generates a ton of information. Every single click, like, and share creates this detailed digital footprint. And this data isn't just sitting in a server somewhere. It's the raw material for building predictive models and super targeted influence campaigns that keep tuning the whole system. Then you've got the resource of time itself. In this theory, it's a pretty simple equation. The more time we spend locked into a platform, the more resources, our attention, our emotions, our data, can be pulled from us. Our personal time is literally converted into the system's fuel. And get this, it's not just about our digital lives. The theory pulls in our real-world lives, too, with labor and capital. The actual value we create through our jobs and our investments is seen as just another flow of energy, another stream that can be channeled to keep this massive system running and growing. And finally, the thing that ties it all together, dopamine. The source calls this our psychological energy. The likes, the notifications, the unpredictable rewards, they're all engineered to give us these tiny little dopamine hits. They create habits, maybe even addictions, that keep us coming back for more and guide our behavior right where the system wants it to go. So if these resources are being harvested, you have to ask who's doing the harvesting. This is where the theory introduces us to the players in this massive system it calls the game. And we're not just talking about powerful people. They're described as operating on a totally different level, where they can see and shape the entire board. This quote from the source pretty much sums up the entire strategy: distract, weaken, and collect resources. The whole goal is to keep the general population busy and caught up in illusions so that this resource collection can happen without anyone noticing. But it also hints at a way out. Understanding the game is the first step to either playing it differently or maybe leaving it altogether. The theory then breaks down the different roles these players have. You've got the architect, who actually designs new systems. Then there's the navigator, who's a master at bending the current rules. You have the engineer, who brings in game-changing tech, and the ideologue, who works on changing how we see the world. Then there's the strategist, pulling strings from behind the scenes. And finally, the rewriter, a meta player who can literally create entirely new games. It's a whole ecosystem of influence. Okay, so how do these players actually exert all this control?
The theory lays out a set of interlocking programs that create a kind of invisible architecture designed to manage the population without anyone even realizing they're being managed.
This table shows the 3 core programs. First, there's Mirror, which creates our own personalized realities, our social media echo chambers, to basically shape our perception and show us what we're supposed to want. Then you have Lotus, which uses entertainment and the promise of self-improvement to distract and pacify us. And finally, Ladder creates the illusion of progress, things like career paths that keep us competing within the rules of the game.
Now, here's the really crucial part. These programs aren't separate. They're designed to work together, creating this perfect self-reinforcing loop. Mirror shows you the path it wants you to take, Lotus distracts you so you don't notice the cage that path is in, and Ladder makes you feel like you're achieving something, like you're climbing, even if you're just running on a hamster wheel.
So the big question is, where is all of this supposed to be heading? The final piece of this theory lays out a predicted endgame, the future that the game is apparently building toward.
According to the source, a series of crises, whether they're manufactured or just managed, will be used to tighten control. The theory predicts this sequence of events: a digital currency crisis to centralize money, then a huge acceleration in automation to create dependency, followed by environmental problems to justify controlling resources, all of it pushing us toward a mass transition into virtual reality as the ultimate form of escape and control.
So how do you even visualize a system that's this complicated? The source talks about things like multi-layered realities, and this image of a tesseract is actually a pretty good metaphor. It represents a reality that has more dimensions than we can easily see, where each new layer is just another level of the game. And this brings us to the end game. The ultimate goal, as described in this theory, is, well, it's a chilling one. It's the systematic devaluation of humanity. The idea is that by shifting our entire existence into a virtual world, the population becomes cheaper to maintain, way more dependent, and in the end, completely controllable. So the source doesn't just leave us with this bleak picture. It actually ends with a challenge. By understanding these alleged systems, you're faced with a choice. Do you learn the rules so you can play the game at a higher level, or do you try to exit the system entirely and create something new? It's a really provocative question, and that's exactly where this theory leaves us.